Well, well, hello everyone. I have a noise filter on my audio. I'm hoping my audio's okay. But it's because I started a project over there on the little CNC, and it's running a little long. So yeah, if there's any issues with my audio, that's probably what's causing it. But I think we're good. Hopefully.
Yeah, you sound a little
So
filtery, but we can understand you, I think.
yeah, well, if I turn that off, it's probably gonna sound a lot loud. I broke out the old rotary, and I have built this in Fusion, brought it into VCarve, and I am making myself a bolt on the CNC. So that's what I got going on over there. And
Oh.
it's taken a little longer than I had anticipated because I had to use a 30-degree 1/8 30-degree V bit, and that's really, especially with any kind of step over, it's taking forever. But hopefully, I won't have to sand it when I get done. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's going on at your place other than the lovely weather?
Yeah, no, it's started to get chilly again. Of course, it seems like most of the eastern U.S. this next week is going to take a bit of a dip in their temperatures. So, I've been working inside today, but I decided I needed to warm the shop up and check things out. So I came out here for this. So, fired up my my heater. Well, about an hour and 45 minutes ago, and it's gone from 46 degrees out here to about 57. So, yeah, and the overnight low is cold, and then tomorrow I think the high is -6, and the overnight low tomorrow night's -20 something. So, yeah, cold. But no, I've been working out in the basement laser room a little bit. I think I took it all inside, but the company that makes that scratch acrylic Great Carve, they also have that kind of two-tone leatherette, that synthetic leather stuff. But theirs has kind of like a felt backing to it, or I don't know what to call it. It's like a fabric instead of being like the adhesive back or just kind of like the straight leather. So I wasn't quite sure what to do with some of it, but I found this thermo activated glue at Michael's. It's another glue. You're going to love this. I've added another glue to my arsenal.
I'm done. I'm done keeping up with your glue stuff.
So I went and grabbed some at Michael's this morning, and been testing it with using like a heat press, kind of adhering the two parts together. So playing around, working with some keychain ideas. I'm going to see if that works. My concern is it's pretty pliable and pretty flexible as is. So I don't know, maybe that glue layer will add something to it. I could always add like a hard spacer in there, but then you got to work on that seam and make sure that that's down tight. So we're going to see how that goes. But maybe it'll be, and I'll probably test some regular leatherette doing that as well. But yeah, but playing around with that, nothing ready for a video yet, because I got to still figure out, does it work and how well. But yeah, that was kind of my day here.
I've been all over the place. I've been seeing a lot, just different random little projects. I left my blue coaster in the house. I was going to bring it back out here and engrave it after I stained it blue. But yeah, I've just been playing around with little odd and end things. Like I said, mostly for the past couple of hours, I've been waiting on that to finish. It's surprisingly lengthy, so waiting on that to finish. Brian wants to know if you look washed out because it's really cold in Minnesota. I'm thinking he's got his. I'm thinking he's got his image kind of just flattened out a little bit. He's going for that cold. He's going for that cold appearance.
Yeah.
He's got the warms turned down on it.
I don't know. Let's see here. There.
Oh, wait a minute. There's your color. Oh yeah, he had one of them beauty filters on. That's what it was.
No. I think I was playing around with the because I was playing around with the color temp of the lights as well as the camera, but
oh yeah, I hear you. Let's see what we got. Dixie Bay. I have no idea. I don't even know what that. I'm guessing you mean the Home Tech. Uh, I don't have that machine, so I really can't say for sure. I mean, I have an Home Tech. The one I have works pretty well. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, 20 by 20 work area. That's an interesting size.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one.
Yeah, well, in OhmTech, they sometimes name their products different on their website versus the actual model number. So I'm just trying to look it up to see if I can find it. What was that? The MF 1220? Because that's close.
The 12, typically theirs are the 1220 is going to be a 12 by 20 work area with Home Tech. Like
yeah, I'm wondering if that's a typo.
22 by 40.
I'm just wondering if that's a typo because I'm thinking that's actually the one that I have. If I can grab their site.
Greg, I'm not doing anything on the lasers today. I'm doing CNC work. I really can't get over there to show you because I don't have a camera over there. But I can show you this picture I took right before we went live. That's what I'm working on. I'm making a bolt on the CNC. It's a 3D. It's a 3D STL file, but I'm engraving it on the CNC using the rotary. And there's a little video clip of it. It's cleaning all those little stringers off of it right now because I used the upcut bit, and so I got a little bit of stringing. But it's going over it now with the 30-degree V bit, cleaning everything up. So I'm making that to add to the collection of stuff that I'm going to take over to Workbench Con. Is that coming through? It's
yeah.
making a racket now. They're going to make sure that ain't something bad happening.
Yeah. Yeah, jumping back to the if you're talking about the OhmTech 1220, that's actually the one they sent me. They have a couple different versions of it. I've got what they're calling the Maker 25, and it's their 50-watt 12 by 20 work area. And it's a decent laser. It's definitely kind of your starter CO2, but there's definitely some areas where you can grow with it a little bit. It has an air assist that's just an air pump that's always on. It has a fan in the back for exhaust, which you could swap out with an exhaust fan. I'm actually looking at doing an upgrade to add a controllable solenoid for the air as well. So, but I do have a video or two using it and reviewing it on my channel if you want to check out more details of what I found out with it. So.
All right, so I got dual noise filters on now. It's doing the side of the top of the nut. That's why it's singing a little louder than it's been bad.
Anyway,
so I got dual noise filters on now. Maybe between the one I've got in Streamlabs and the one that's in StreamYard, maybe it'll get it.
That's fine when you don't talk.
Let's see what we got.
Here's one from Sean. New to CNC is the Fox Alien Mouster Pro CNC router machine. Good machine. I don't think either you or I have direct experience with Fox Alien, but our friend James Dean Designs, a friend across the pond over in England, he has used them as well as the Genmitsus, which are kind of the ones if you're looking for a benchtop starter machine, the 4040 Pro Max, like the one he's got running, and mine's actually sitting over on my Onefinity right now. Those are kind of like the lowest level machine we might recommend. Of course, if you've got the space and the money and the time, there's options between the Onefinity, the Shapeoko 5 Pro, CNC Labs has their long mill and what's their new one?
Alt mill.
Anyway, alt mill. There you go.
And PWE is actually coming out with one that looks pretty cool. Well, I've been browsing what little bit of stuff they're putting out on it.
Yeah. As with anything new, kind of wait to see how it comes when it, get them out there.
Yeah.
But and of Clack actually just released a video, yesterday or today on comparing a bench top to bigger ones, so might help you out. But Fox Alien, I would put, without having direct experience, they have some machines that are kind of on par, close to the Genmitsu machine. So it's I'd love to get a little more hands on with one, but I've heard some decent things about them. But definitely go check out James Dean Designs, and he's got some really good information on it.
Yeah, like I said, James is one of those guys that I trust his opinion. He says it's a good starter machine. So I would tend to think that it would be based on him, because he's had a lot of experience with those machines.
Yeah. Lori, I feel for you. It's going to be cold. We're not going to get quite that cold tomorrow morning, but I think tomorrow night we're going to be hitting close to that. But just look at the long range forecast. Next Sunday it's supposed to be 40 here. I'm just holding on to that. I ran some errands the past couple of days, so I hopefully don't have to go anywhere the next couple of days. We got tomorrow off for President's Day, and then I work from home on Tuesday, so maybe I can stay warm.
Yeah. Tim says, I really enjoyed the CNC video today. I'm sure this summer I'll be pulling the plug on picking up my first CNC. Yeah, like I said, if you've got unlimited budget, then yeah, you can get pretty much any machine. But I will say, like I said before, I think me and you agree that of the cheaper machines that I've tested, work area size and affordability, the 4040 Pro Max is probably, because I like the 4040 Pro that I used to have, but the Z-axis was a little floppy. But they have really shored that up and sturdied that thing up on this new 4040 Max. So yeah,
and I've got some plans for some things to work with mine as well. Just I don't work as fast as Clack. He's like a squirrel in his shop. You just can't stop him. So
it comes from having hyperactivity disorder. I can't sit still.
This guys, you got something. But yeah, no. Hopefully both of us will have some additional content out there. I know a lot of people have that question of like, when you're getting into it, you don't want to buy too much if it's not what you need or you don't think you're going to like it. But also, if you don't buy a decent enough machine, you can be just fighting problems. And so I know that's where we like to test a few of these, and kind of where we come up with that 4040 Pro Max is even the original Pro is decent, but you kind of end up upgrading some of the things to the Pro Max, and it's a little more rigid. It's sub $1,000 and seems to be fairly usable, and something you can actually do some real projects with.
Yeah, the little trim router that Genmitsu came out with for this guy, it's a lot better than the little DC motors that came with the original 4040. I even like this one better than the DeWalt, because the DeWalt was too much router for the 4040. I mean, yeah, it would crank it up, but this little trim router right here, I've been running this most of the day today, and I've been on even from 3 to 4 on the little roll dial. I was doing a down cut Jenny bit earlier because somebody was asking me, because he was familiar with the feeds and speeds that he used on a down cut Jenny. So I got up this morning to come in here, put a down cut Jenny in, and I was doing 2mm passes at like 80 and 90 inches per minute. And it was doing a really good job. I had a little bit of singing in it. It had it spinning too fast in the beginning. I had dialed it up to like 4 or 5 on the router, and I started noticing a little bit of scorch marks when it was turning around and coming back. So I kept lowering the rotations, the speed on the router down, got it dialed in, got some nice smooth, even cuts. Like I said, at about 80 to 90 inches per minute, doing 2mm dives with it. And it wasn't scary. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can push those things where it's scary. You're afraid you're going to break something. But that, it was cutting smooth. Didn't have any problem. And I was just using the two-sided tape on that. So I didn't want to go pushing too hard either, because two-sided tape, you can pull that loose if that's all you've got on there. I've done it before.
You can. Yeah, I get complacent with it at times, and every so often you you get a
learn a
little
lesson.
yeah, that'll get the adrenaline going a little bit there when things start flying off the CNC. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
I mean, it takes a little bit of a gumption to run at that CNC when there's a piece of wood doing this right here. Because you got to get over there to hit the power button, or either run outside and grab the breaker, one of the two. But yeah, it's not a good feeling.
yeah. So you had a nice little what Chamber of Commerce award or something there this week.
Oh yeah, I left that in the house. I should have brought that out here.
So what is with that? I mean, new business, or what was the title of that one, and how did you
Well, I could pull it up on the Facebook page. It is the new business. Hang on, let me find it. Give me a second. I can't talk and type at the same time. New business of the year, I think is what it was.
Well, I don't know if it was of the year. I think it was at least like.
Hang on, let me see here. What did they call it? Yeah, new business of the year.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so here it is right here.
You guys have different years than us then, or what?
No, this is for 2024. This is the they have their annual little 2024 award ceremony for this stuff, and they had all these folks got these different awards, and of course, new business of the year went to this guy. And so I got a cool little trophy looking thing. Let me see if I can find my pictures. Yep, you can see there we are. That's our table, and the award is not in there. So yeah, it was fun. It's one of those things that I really wasn't expecting. I did, however, find out that my buddy Tim was the driving force behind me getting selected and getting it. He brought it up because I helped him out, and it basically supposed to go to. Oh, you did find it. Where'd you find that at? Oh, that was on my page, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Tim actually nominated me for it and kind of solicited the other people in the chamber to cast their vote, because their committee has to vote on it or whatever. And his reasoning for it was that I help him and I help other businesses, and because I try to help other businesses by marketing for them, using my platform to help market with them, teaching them how to use social media, that kind of stuff. Plus, doing jobs for them, of course. But everybody kept asking me if I engraved those. Ironically, the day after the lady that worked at Tim's did those, I didn't even know I had it coming. But I asked her this week, and she said she did those right before I come in the door to help her with the other batch that she had. But I told her, I said, did I give you the settings for that? And she's like, no, I did that one right before you got here. So, but it's pretty cool. It was an honor. Like I said, you had to be 3 years or less in business to qualify.
Okay.
So
I think that was the question, because you've been in business longer than that.
Officially June of 2022 is when I formed my LLC. But yeah.
Yeah, we have at work we have what's called the Rising Star Award, and so that's new employees 3 years and younger, kind of like that. So it's not just like new employee of the year. It kind of covers, kind of like you say here, past 3 years.
Yeah, if I hadn't got it this year, I wouldn't have been able to get it, because I wouldn't have qualified next year. Because the qualifications for it is 3 years or less. So yeah. Because like last year, I did a bunch of the table decorations and stuff for the event, and yeah, I do a lot for the chamber. Of course, part of that's because my wife works there. But she did not vote for me, because I asked her. I was like, "Did you vote for me on this?" Because everybody's going to be screaming it was rigged.
It was rigged.
She's like, no. She's like, no. She's like, me and Rachel, which is the girl she works with. She's like, neither one of us, really had a say in it. It was all about the members and the board, the board and all that, those folks. So it was cool.
Nice. Yeah, nice to get some recognition in your community. It shows that you're active and people appreciate you. So
yeah, well, speaking of that, and I'll go ahead and drop this in here for anybody that's listening that might want to come. My friend May, y'all know May, been friends with her for a long time. She's one of the people that helped encourage me to lean into my YouTube channel back when I was just doing it for fun and had no intentions of trying to use it to retire or anything like that. She messaged me the other day and asked me if I would be interested in participating in a meet and greet in October. She's doing her big event where she has a bunch of people come into town for a class and stuff. And she's like, I would love to be able to do a meet and greet there at the end of it. Would you be willing to participate? And so I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I'll participate. I'll be retired, so I'll have plenty of time. I shouldn't have said that because now I'm in charge of said meet and greet, getting it, set up, getting everybody there, making sure all of the stuff is the way it's supposed to be. So there will be, and I'm going to get more details out as soon as I can get with May and get everything nailed down. But there will be a meet and greet October. I think it was the 21st. I have to go look, but yeah, that's so I volunteered to participate and wound up getting put in charge of it. So
this is a meet and greet for
October 24th.
Wow, that's when, but what's it like for who?
Well,
meet
it's gonna be all of the channels that are here. Cog Hill, May will be there. Me, Simply Lake and Lace. Oh my gosh! Don't make me. There's a bunch of farming channels.
Okay, too. So it's like Clanton area YouTube.
Yeah, we have a Facebook group. It's kind of like almost like a, I guess you would say, a collaboration group here in the county and right around the edge of the county of channels, people that do social media content creation, that kind of thing. And it's basically just where we share ideas and we give each other like information as far as, hey, we're going to be doing this event over here, or, if somebody needs drone video for their channel, I can come do that because, not everybody's Part 107 certified and all that. So if they need a drone video captured, I can shoot over their house and do drone video for them. Just different stuff, just basically just a group of people collaborating. But I think we're up to like 12 channels here in the county that are like significant monetized channels. So, okay. There's a lot of aspiring channels, of course, but there's at least 12 that are established and monetized.
You said that was the end of October?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the 24th is when she's wanting to do it. We haven't got yet. October 24th at 1 p.m. is when she's wanting to start it. So it'll be like 1 to 5 or something like that. But we're going to see. It's just going to be for local folks. Some of the ones that are around in our area, but if it's somebody that maybe you because a lot of May's people know me and a lot of my people know May's folks, and it's just we're gonna see how it works out. We've done the ones in the past at what's that place called? Pedals from the Past. We did that one a couple of years in a row. And that's a whole bunch of farmstead channels. May typically doesn't participate with that one because it's outdoor and it's not really where a bunch of crafter people would necessarily want to be. It's more for the farming folks. What we'll say.
Cool. About that time, a couple weeks before that, they've got the Minnesota Woodworkers Expo going on again at the state fairgrounds. So I'll have to see. I went last year and just kind of hung out and met a few people, a few listeners. It was fun. Year before that, I did actually display and show off some lasers. It's fun, but it's a lot of work. So I'll have to see if I do that again, but it might be another opportunity to hang out with people.
Yeah. Dennis, I'm pretty sure I'm at 228, but I left the sign over there because I was so busy getting everything ready a while ago. No, Brian, it was for 2024. Like I said, less than 3 years of age. So that was the goal.
Death Ninjas, it's trying to make a dice box. Took over 3 hours on the 4040 Pro. Is that normal, or could my settings be off? It was about 9 inches by 4 inches. A lot of variables there. Depends on what what bit you're doing, and if you're hogging out more of a tray, or I I make some small dice boxes. Don't have any out here right now, but they're not that big. They're probably closer to 4 inches by 3 inches, just big enough for like a 7 set of die. And I would think those would be, to both sides milled in one go. I want to say it's easily about 20 to 30 minutes tops. So I'd have to
sounds
see a
like
photo of what you're doing, and you might, again, it depends. Like that's with me using like a 1/4 inch bit.
well,
Versus like
and
maybe an 1/8 inch.
I see they say it's a 4040 Pro. It depends on which spindle is on that 4040 Pro as well. If it's the factory little DC motor, yeah, you're gonna have to take smaller bites.
Yeah, that's true.
But if it's the bigger DC spindle, or if it's a trim router, you should be able to go a lot faster than that. So it's gonna depend on the which spindle you're outfitted with. If you're using a trim router, that's way too long. But if you're using that little tiny, what is it? Is it a 300 or 400 watt spindle that comes with the thing?
I didn't have one, so
I think it was a. Hang on.
I know my 6050 came with a 500. I think the Pro may have been a 300, but not.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a 300.
But yeah, they leave something to be desired with their.
Yeah, that little spindle that comes with it it kind of nibbles. Let's see here. See if it tells me what it is. 75 watt spindle. So yeah, with that 75 watt spindle, because you're only going to be able to run an 18 speed, it's gonna take a little while. If you upgrade that to a router, you will get significantly faster, because then you can run 1/4 inch bits too. You can't dig real deep because the Z-axis at some point will start deflecting a little bit, but you can go much faster with a trim router than you can with that little spindle.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just catching up on chat, and Dixie was talking about the 12x20 OhmTech and asking some things in general about the company. They've been around for a while now. They've some of their US based stuff has shifted, I think, back away from US. So some people that may be heavier into using their support miss that kind of US connection. It's kind of more typical emails back and forth, kind of next day kind of stuff. But as far as quality of machine, for the entry level to prosumer small business lasers, they're kind of on par with a lot of the others. You can pay more and get a more quality machine from places like Thunder, or you can pay a lot more, get a really excellent machine from places like can't even think of them right now because I can't afford them. But Eon. Well, no, I was even thinking of the other one. Anyway,
Boss.
My brain is freezing out here. But comparing that one that you asked about, and I have the MF 1220, the 50 watt 12x20, to my original 9 years ago eBay laser 60 watt. It's a lot more robust as far as the belts, the Epilogue. That's the name of the brand I was thinking of.
Oh, Epilogue. Yeah, those are way high priced.
The build quality has improved. The nice thing about them is even they use a lot of common components. So even if you can't get support direct from OhmTech in a timely manner, there's a lot of resources out online, whether it's through YouTube or Facebook groups, where you're going to probably find someone that can help point you in the right direction on some of those things. So the other nice thing is that a lot of those parts are fairly common, and so they're easier to replace. Now that's on that style machine. Clack has you've got like the Polar something or other. It's more of a the Polar Plus. Any of those benchtop units. I mean, X-Tool has theirs. Atom Stack has theirs. Glowforge. They have these kind of desktop units all in one. The problem is a lot of that stuff is that those parts were built for that machine. They're not really going to be interchangeable a lot. Some of them you can still get, like lenses, as long as you find the right size, things like that. But other parts are not going to be quite so easily serviced and gotten without going direct to them. So I haven't. The big question is, how's their support? I haven't really had to talk much with them. I've asked them to clarify some things. They got right back to me, but I haven't had like a broken part where I say, hey, I need you to fix this and replace it. So I can't speak to that and take online complaints with a grain of salt. Pick your company. You're going to find someone who has had a horrible experience with them. Now, if that's all you hear about it, then maybe it's a red flag, but so far, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with that laser as kind of an entry-level laser. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles you might like, but it has a lot to get you started. So hopefully that gives a little more.
Yeah,
a little more to that.
From what I've seen of the machine that you got, I like it, and I've seen some other videos on the OMTech machines, and so far, they seem like a decent brand. So. Brian's asking, did you tell the chamber you can make those awards for next year? They know I could, but I don't, because my buddy Tim does a lot of that stuff. And to be honest with you, I don't have time to be taking on all of that work. Tim gives me the stuff that he's not set up to do. I get a lot of that stuff from him, and then I have my own little things. But between that and the YouTube channel and the job right now, I do not have time. And if I did want to take some of that stuff next year, I'm sure Tim would let me, because he does stay very busy. But I am perfectly content right now. Let's see what else we got.
A very cool named guy named Steve asked, did you use Vectric to make the threads?
No. I cheated. I downloaded an STL for a 3D print file, dropped it over into Fusion, added a shaft through the middle of it so that it would, so that I'd have something to leave when I CNC'd it, and exported it into VCarve.
How dare you take the easy road?
It's just that was the easy way to do it. I mean, I was just wanting to do the engrave part. I wasn't wanting to do the design. So yeah. But that's how I did that.
Another important question: are you wearing your Crocs?
Yes, I am.
With your bling?
Yes, I am. See, I made a bigger. These are my shop Crocs. I made a bigger version of it. You can see it a little better. The little ones just were a little too small. But they like pop out, so you just like pull them out. See, it's shaped like a little. It's rounded over so it doesn't scratch your foot or anything. But it's got that little lip right there, and it's just thick enough where when you push it in on the Croc, it like pops in, like it'll snap into the. So there you go. So I got like 4 of them on the other one.
The Duke of Tank is asking any suggestions on setting up said X-Tool F1 with Lightburn. And yeah, they actually have an article that walks you through it. But the important thing is there's a configuration file you want to download. It's for Lightburn to import the device in there. And then it sets up all the macro buttons for you and works pretty well. So I'll drop that link in the chat. And that's kind of the easiest way to set that up, is just kind of walk through that article on the steps to do that. And the biggest part is just really importing that device, and then they'll tell you what the different buttons do. So
yeah, they wouldn't let her vote for me. She would have, I'm sure, or at least, that's her story, and she's sticking to it anyway. So
David says 3D printer newbie trying to use Bamboo Lab Studio and lost connection to the printer. Any ideas? I guess with that one, it would depend on if the studio can't see the printer or if the printer, you can go to the printer and walk through the network setup. I would double check that the printer is, look on the control panel of the printer, make sure it's actually still on there. And if it is, I think you can either turn it off or switch it to LAN only mode, one or the other. It may kind of reset that connection and hopefully then allow studio to work. But otherwise, you wouldn't even need to be on the same VLAN. So mostly I would try to reset the wireless on the printer itself, and hopefully that gets it to reconnect, because the printer actually needs to connect to the cloud for the studio app to be able to see it, unless you set up LAN only mode. But that's it. Unfortunately, they're locked down, and when they work well, but when they don't work, there's not a whole lot you can do other than kind of reset and reconfigure it.
Oh, I was going to show you the. Let me see here. There's 3. There we go. All right, there we go. Yeah. So there's what I come up with. I brought that mesh into Fusion and basically just created a drawing and extruded myself a pin through the middle of it so that I could leave that material on the rotary. And then once it completely engraves, then I could just take it. I can cut it on both ends and sand it and everything. So yeah, that's how I built that. That's what's going on with that right there. Yeah. But yeah, I just downloaded it. Like I said, I just downloaded a 3D mesh. It was quicker that way.
Brent's asking what's the best CNC for starters. We kind of touched on that a little bit ago on the there's a bit depends on your budget, but the one we kind of recommend as like the lowest you should go is that Genmitsu 4040 Pro Max, or the Pro with some upgrades. That's kind of it's rigid enough and functions fairly well to where you're going to kind of get a feel for it, and you can actually work on some bigger things. You can use 1/4-inch bits with that Pro Max and get some decent realistic speeds and quality out of it. Whereas there's some cheaper ones, but they're just not rigid. You're using small 3mm or 1/8-inch bits, and things take a long time. So
yeah. Cindy, she used to have a Cricut thing. She does a lot with paper crafting. It's made it. Is the name of her channel.
She ever get the M1 Ultra thing worked out?
She was going to get it last I heard. I haven't talked to her about that lately. But she was talking to External because they were, because I told her, I was like, that's actually looks like it'd be pretty cool for what you do.
Yeah.
The only thing that she was going to have a problem with was she doesn't have ventilation, so I told her to get the AP2 to go with it, because she's not going to use the laser a lot. But in order to use the laser without having a vent up there where she's at in that commercial space, she just grabbed the AP2 and be done with it.
She'll need adapters for that one, because the M1 Ultra is designed for the little desktop unit, like which isn't enough for it. So she may need some adapters to make that work right.
Yeah, I know a guy that can probably design and print one of those. I probably already got it because I've got a 4-inch adapter for my Ultra over here already.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, Brad has a problem or a question. When y'all use a V-bit, what depth do you go for letters as such? It depends
on the thickness of your material. I mean, if you've got thicker material and you can go deeper, that's going to cut down on the flat bottom period. So if you can go full depth and let that V bit go all the way down, then you don't need to use like a clearing toolpath to get the flat areas. But generally, I mean, some of those can get really deep. I I would say the deepest I've gone on V-bit engravings is probably about a 1/4 inch. Beyond that, they start getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah. It also depends on the size of your text too, because the tinier your text, depending on the angle of the V bit, the shallower you got to go, because the deeper the V goes, the wider the font.
Well, yeah, if you've got a finer point, you got to use a thinner,
yeah,
thinner
30,
V bit,
15 or 30 degree instead of a 60 or a 90.
But then that takes longer. So
yeah, that's like right now 15-degree V bit. It's getting some really awesome detail, but oh my gosh, it's taking forever. It's almost done now. I think it's down to, let me go look.
Yeah, up north, I know. As much as I don't like dealing with the snow, we need more of it here in Minnesota. So
yes, it's only got like a little, maybe a 1/4 of an inch left, but it's with the step over on that bit is ridiculous because it's a tiny little bit. See, this is what I'm using. I'm using the cheap bits. So these things, these are the ones that come with a lot of your Genmitsus and all that. And this bit is ridiculously small. So the step over on that, is unreal. But it looks like you sanded it with 220 over there. So that's going to be good.
I'm trying to jump ahead a little bit. So if we've missed your question, you may need to hit it back up, but I don't want to get too far behind our chat from live. But
yeah, I don't recall seeing nothing, Ryan. Which I hadn't been looking at my email lately. I don't know how
you can send
it.
You can send him Facebook messages and he doesn't see them. Same.
Well, I have a lot of different messages come. I'm not seeing anything, Ryan. I'm not saying you didn't. I'm not seeing it. So I don't know how you sent it through your site today. If you sent it through my website, it should have came to me, but the email address is clackshack.com if you send it that way. I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Or if maybe it got caught up spam filter somewhere. Oh, I tried to clear it.
Up north's asking, haven't tried it, but in a way I have, but not in production. Could Lightburn run the 4040? I have one and it works for moving, but haven't done anything. And as I already stated, for products fun. Okay, so the 4040 is running off a GRBL controller, and a lot of the lasers, the diode lasers, also run that. So yeah, getting XY movement out of it is going to be fairly simple. You could probably even turn the spindle on and off, but it's going to be really wonky because you're not going to have real fine control of your Z-axis. In Lightburn, it does have the Z-axis control, but it's generally, okay, for this layer, move this offset from my focus point. So in theory, yes, you could crudely make it work for it, but it's going to be, it's going to be the geeky thing, look what I made it do, rather than this is actually productive kind of thing. So yes, in theory, but it would be more of the, hey, cool, look what I made it do versus actually doing it on a regular basis, as far as I feel anyway.
Mark, yes, I'm using the Genmitsu 4th axis on the 4040 Pro Max. The 4th axis is actually the one that came with my original 4040 Pro, but it works the same with the 4040 Pro Max. So you don't have a rotary, do you, Steve?
Not for no.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's one of those things that it's a little bit niche, but when you have a cool idea, I mean, there's a lot of people who've carved out like full chess sets and such, and that's cool. But it takes time. It's one of those things where you're probably doing it more for fun than you are for profit, unless you're in a highly specialized, highly niche market.
Yeah.
MCT 1024, any experience exporting G code from a Lightburn file for use with CNC? I've designed a cribbage board in Lightburn and considering purchasing a CNC to drill out the holes after it's engraved. No, what I would do here is you can export that as like an SVG and then import it into a proper CAM software to set up the file.
Or DXF, either one.
Yeah, DXF. I used to be a much bigger fan of DXF. It's just that each program tends to not always have the right settings to say, okay, import it in these units. And so if it's not spot on and you didn't give yourself a reference point of here's a 1-inch square, then you're guessing. But yeah, I would export the vectors and then get it set up in another application.
Yeah, I do that a lot with going from CNC to laser and from laser to CNC. I just use the SVG. You can use the DXF if you want it to layer it out, but typically all you really want is the lines anyway. Because like you're gonna have to set your tool paths and all that up regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, Lightburn, they have their CNC software that's in development, but it's still being tested and no idea yet. They're supposedly close, and as Chris was mentioning, they're it's still being in development and still being tested, but yeah, no release date on that yet. But it is a new piece of software. It's not that they're adding the functionality to Lightburn.
Mark says his 150 arrived Friday. That's good news. Bad news is the QCW frame and stand have not shipped, so we can't assemble it yet. I mean, you could assemble it. Just you'd have to.
Not. I mean, if he's using the QCW frame, he's going to want to get that together first before, because that kind of bolts on in a special way. Otherwise, he's going to have to take off the gantry to do it. But yeah, they didn't have that out when I was looking at it, and I like building up a cabinet. Gives me some storage underneath and things like that. But the QCW frame is kind of nice for shops, especially if you don't want to build up a frame, or in some cases they also have like the fold down feature if you need to get it out of the way as well. But yeah, it's too bad that things are still backed up a little bit with them. I know I had looked at upgrading mine with their spindle that they were offering on Black Friday, but a lot of those still haven't shipped. So I'm glad I didn't, because I'd be anxiously waiting that project as well.
Yeah, that's the one of the things with it is the backlog is unreal on some of these things. Because I'm wanting to get me a rotary and just get me another 2x4 machine with the 4-foot wide rotary on it. But Shapoko's done hurt my feelings with theirs. I thought about trying to engineer one, but my luck, something would go really bad.
So are you going to make a 3D nut for the bolts?
I actually have thought about it. I thought about trying to 3D print one, but I'd have to go back and pull the file out and design it in Fusion at this point, because the original STL that I downloaded, I scaled it. so I'd have to scale the nut also, because when I brought it into Vectric, I actually told Vectric to take the STL and make it fit my stock. Mm-hmm. So it would definitely have to be resized. I would have to physically measure the size of the bolt in the real world, and then go in and scale the nut to match it and then print it. But I have thought about it. I thought about that'd be a cool way to display it. to 3D print like the nut, but then have like a base on it and have it where it screws into the 3D base. But I just gotta be careful. I don't want to break the threads because it's wood. You know what I mean? And it's very, very, very sharp threads.
Well, yeah. I mean, I used to have a thread cutter for certain size dowels because on a lot of like workbenches and such, you'd make your own handles and other things like that, vices and things like that. But I don't know that I still have that, and I'd have to look to see what scale it was. But yeah, it's something else. Yeah, sounds like Mark's going to make some storage underneath it or put in a tool cabinet underneath it. Yeah, I mean that's it's otherwise it's wasted space. I like having everything in my shop on casters, including the 150 dowel. It does need to still be heavy, and you want to get the right locking casters or like the drop down feet so it can still be stable. But I just find that whether I'm reconfiguring my shop or I need to move some things around, I just like having them on casters so I can slide things around. And that's why I built it with, I've got drawers, I've got shelves, I've got storage in back. I actually have a spot in back where I could put the chiller and if I wanted to, a smaller shop vac for cleanup and such, keep it out of the way. But it's part of the fun, making it fit in the shop and figuring out your storage and needs with it. So hopefully you get the frame and you can get working with that soon. Let's see. Greg's asking, I want to engrave a ceramic mug with a handle on my Lasermatic. How can you do it with the handle not hitting anything? I think you're gonna have to take the base out and put it up on blocks or some sort of lifters, because the rotary bolts to the side of the frame, so you gotta take that.
If you laid it out exactly right, it wasn't a very big engrave with coffee cups. You can do it, but you have to set it up to where the handle is basically as high as you can get it without it hitting the module, and then you have to start from there and engrave back this way. And you've only got, from the time that it gets close to the ground, so that you've only got like maybe a quarter of a turn to engrave. So the only other option is to get it elevated. And with the roller, you're going to have to definitely jack it up and take the bottom out of it.
So get some Campbell soup cans, put them on the four corners, and
paint cans, stain cans work really well.
The soup cans are cheaper for now.
Well, I've got stain cans over there.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go in the house and get soup.
But you open them and now they could be slightly off because those lids aren't sit just right.
Oh no, I put my lids back on properly with a rubber hammer.
What's that? What else we got? What are your thoughts on Elegoo 3D printers? They're coming out with the Centauri tomorrow. Just curious. Trying to think. I don't know that I've had any experience with their 3D printers. I've seen a couple people. I've put the videos on the background to see it. There's a number of new 3D printers coming out right now, and it's kind of cool to see, but it's also hard to keep up on them. They have been around for a while. They're not one of these no-name brands. Like I got an email from something for a Hey Gears printer. So I actually had to look up who that was, but they've been around for a while, so they're not brand new to it. So they do have some history, but yeah, unfortunately, I can't tell you much more of my experience with that.
I had an Elegoo laser.
Yeah,
but I've never had a 3D printer from them. I know some folks that have got them that seem happy with them, but that's all I know. Biscuit, what are you cannot fit through the cat door. This dog thinks he thinks he's like, I don't know, Gumby or something, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to. So,
The one if you want to get some decent information on that, you might want to check out Uncle Jesse's video on it. He's looked at a lot of printers and has done a lot of projects, so that might be a good place to get some fairly solid info.
that's our current situation here.
Nice.
he goes over, he'll lay there and go to sleep with his head stuck in that hole.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. You want
Anyway. See, there you go. Up north's got soup cans and 3D printed lifters.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that is the issue when you lift up any of these machines and you get the engrave speed going a little too fast, you can get a little wobbly. So anything as and, you know, a little more weight to it, a little more solid to it. So, and Ryan says Uncle Jesse's doing a live stream with Elegoo tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern for that printer launch too. So maybe 8 a.m. That's 7 a.m. here.
Yeah,
I'll be up, but I don't know that I'll be watching. I don't know that I'll be watching videos at 7 a.m.
No, my brain's not working at that time of morning.
Actually, oh no, shoot, it's gonna be cold. I have to get up and get my van over to the mechanic. They're gonna do a little work on it for me before I take off on my schlep down to Alabama.
James, pretty much everything I print is PLA. I'm fixing to move to PETG now that I've gotten like my system worked out, because there's a lot of stuff that I'd rather have a little harder material. But so far, I've just been printing in PLA. I've got some ABS and some other stuff, but I bought it when I first got into it, and since I don't have an enclosed machine, it's just kind of on hold until I do get an enclosed machine.
You didn't keep the big tent?
No. All the tents that I got rid of. And my Creality one that I had, I gave it to my buddy that took the Ender 3. So I'll get one eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I would get a purpose, you know, an enclosed printer for that rather than trying to mess with the A1 and an enclosure. But
yeah. Yeah, I plan on getting me like an X1 or at least a P1S before too long. I just really don't have anywhere to put it right now. But when I get that shop built and I start moving some stuff, better look out.
Yeah, up north, usually I'm heading to work around that time. But luckily tomorrow we got off for the holiday. So, but I wasn't thinking about that when I scheduled my appointment for my car. So I thought I'd drop it off on my way to work. Now I'm just gonna be dropping it off to come back home and make myself get up early on a day I wouldn't have to, but it's probably for the best anyway. I'll be more productive.
Maybe the roads won't be crowded.
Well, everybody would just frozen to the roads. But
not sure what they call the color. It's just orange.
Yeah, I did see the the Prusa Core 1 went on sale this week, and a friend of mine did order the kit. And I was, you know, I thought about it, but I'll let a few other people try it out first. But that's their new one. It's also not as big of a build area as some of the others, so that was a little disappointing. But they've historically made really good printers. And my friend actually has an older Prusa, so he's really happy with them and excited to upgrade to that one. So maybe I'll be able to sneak over to his place when he's got it built and get a little info on it.
Runa the Impaler. I really don't have a need to adjust the belts and everything on it, because when I put it together, I tensioned the belts and everything, so it does really well. I did test it, and it's doing good. So I do have a video. It's not necessarily. I don't think it's with. I don't remember what machine it was with. It may have been with the 30 watt, but I do have a video on, testing all that. But every time I put a machine together, I do the square and circle test with it. And if it don't need adjusting, I don't go messing with it. And a lot of times too, the brand new machines, when you first get them, it'll take a little while for them to get broken in good. What are you doing, Mister? What are you doing?
What am I doing?
No, Biscuit's over here running around.
No.
Sniffing, smelling around for cats, ain't you? He got slapped in the nose the other day. He ain't forgot about it yet. So look at that big boy. Where's it? Uh-oh, camera's turned around. Hang on. Put the camera right here. There you go. Quit sniffing. Right, sniffer. Got to break him from that. What? What? What?
Well, we're at the halfway point, so it's a good time to remind people that we have some links down below for things you can check out. If you're coming from my channel and you for some reason haven't heard of David over the Clack Shack, go head over there. Maybe check out his channel, give him a follow and a like, things like that. We also have a Facebook group called Laser Engraving Community, which we started back a couple of years ago as a way for the people, viewers of this live stream, to kind of interact, ask questions, post photos, share projects, things like that. We try to keep the spammy self-promotion stuff out, but it's been a nice growing community, so you might want to check that out. We also have a map that you can check out where we have all our not all, but any of the viewers that want to put their pin on the map. It's a Google map. You can go check that out. There's a link to a form if you want to add yours, and that just reminds me I really need to check for any updates on there. But it'll allow you to see who's in your area. It'll allow us to see, if we're traveling somewhere, maybe we want to do a meetup. Just kind of a fun thing to see where everybody's from, and maybe make some local connections. So check those out if you want. Other than that, we do have some links to other useful information that you can check out on the channels and such. But appreciate all the support in that and making sure you get connected with us and different things. And
what are you doing? Somebody said that's a good-looking golden retriever. I don't know that he's a golden retriever. He is white with. He's got something in him other than the Pyrenees, but he's got a lot of Pyrenees in him. But he's got like horse hair, and then he's got this really, really fine undercoat underneath there. He is not hypoallergenic by no means. But yeah. But he's a big baby. Is what he is. He likes to be petted. He has thumbs on his back legs, which is weird. But yeah, he has decided to stay here, I guess. He hadn't left since he came.
Yeah, he's been there for quite a while now.
Yeah.
You got Rick stopping by to say hi.
What's up? How are you? Where's that CNC at, Rick? Get it going. Get it going. Ready to see some CNC activities.
Yeah, we got STL. We got Greg over there. Can't stay, but wanted to say hi. Hey, Greg.
What's up?
We'll be seeing you in a couple weeks. Less than a couple weeks.
10 days. North Alabama, I've played around with it a little bit. I'm waiting on some materials to come in, and I'm going to play with it a little more. But right now, it seems okay. I'm no professional, so we'll find out how terrible I am at it.
Kurt Young's asking, could you give me some advice on getting started with a cutting acrylic diode safe with a Rolly Lasermatic 1030? Don't need to engrave, just is setting up the material test in Lightburn, just like MDF, etc. Yeah, I mean, we encourage people to use the material test tools. you would, want to set up the line for a cut. I don't have my numbers handy. Do you have any like ballpark numbers to share on cutting acrylic with that one?
Well, it depends on the color. If it's the wrong color, you're not going to do it. If it's white, if it's let's see, if it's white, if it's blue, unless it's like really dark blue. Typically speaking, I would say I'd have to look. Multiple passes with acrylic, usually around 3 passes with any color other than black. Black you can do with 1 pass, but the other materials I typically do 3 passes, 2 at minimum. Usually I think it's around 15 to 20 millimeters a second, depending on the machine. But like I said, the color is gonna dictate. It's tricky. Test and do some more testing. I haven't cut a whole lot of acrylic other than black with the roller. Yeah, green will do pretty decent. Green, red, black, and orange. I've had pretty good luck with diodes. Any of the lighter colors, you're probably going to do multiple passes. Hang on, he's walking outside now. He's trying to go out the hole.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have my Lightburn libraries on this computer for all the older machines that I've tested. So, but definitely set up those test files. I wonder if I have a.
Now, if anybody's gonna have the settings for that, it's gonna be Rich and them probably would have them, but I haven't.
Thought I had one of my sheets handy here, but maybe I don't.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I've cut hardly any acrylics with Lasermatic. Black is going to be the easiest one. If you're just wanting to cut acrylic, stick with black. Red will do pretty good. Like I said, the green, some greens. There are some greens I've had trouble with. Blue is going to be terrible. White, hang it up. It's going to be a melted mess. Yellow, mixed results. Orange usually does pretty good. All right. Well, any more questions while Steve's digging for whatever he's digging for over there? Robbie says Biscuit is definitely a receiver. A what? No, they said retriever. But I don't think he's no retriever. He won't retrieve nothing.
Well, I didn't find any cut tests, but I found a few hat blanks that I had buried.
Well, look at you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I can find that reasonably quick, but I know there's been a few tests on some of my videos. I don't remember if I tested that with the Lasermatic. So
up north, if you're asking about coating like different acrylics and stuff with something in order to cut it, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it is not going to be cost productive, and it is definitely not going to give you a nice smooth cut. That's just not something that I would do. I would cut it with a CNC or a CO2 before I would try painting and cut it, because I've heard people say, well, you can paint it and then run across it and paint it, and run across it and paint it, and run across it. But yeah, you could, but you could also take it over to the bandsaw and cut it just as fast, probably. But yeah, it's no, I would steer clear of white.
Yeah, if you need to do that, you're going to want to be looking at a CO2. Like this.
Yeah.
As from the Reno video, the Reno 45.
Yeah, LTX says I've been working on some full wrap taper tumblers that have been a nightmare with the seam being closed at the bottom and open up towards the top. Any tips? Yeah, you're gonna have to skew the crap out of your file. That's why I try not to fool with full wraps. If you want a full wrap, do like basically a wrap where there's like little small things that wrap all the way around it, not something that has to connect. Because on a tapered tumbler, that connecting is going to require a lot of math and a lot of trial and error. You're going to want to wrap that thing with some painter's tape and test it, because you're going to have to basically section it off and stretch and compress it based on the taper of the tumbler. And it's just, yeah, that's another one of those things that if you're doing it for fun, it's cool, but there is no way I would do full wrap tumblers like that with an image that wraps all the way around for money, because you're going to mess up so many that you're not going to make any money. A logo, 2 logos, a logo with some text, even a assorted images randomly placed around a tumbler, that works. That way you can build in a little bit of a buffer, and there's not this definitive line where everything has to match perfectly, because those are a booger if they're not completely flat.
Jack, that's going to depend on if it's like a Chicago style or a thin crust. We're going to need more information on that.
Yeah, it's a stuffed crust. I mean, pepperoni, meat lovers. I mean, gotta have a little more information.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, the X-Tool D1 stuff typically not going to be interchangeable with a lot of other machines without adapters. Now, most of the stuff, if you know what you're doing and can build the proper adapters, you can make it work. But typically speaking, plug and play, no, they're not going to just plug off of one and put it onto the other.
I mean, there are some parts like the roller wheels are actually used by multiple things, but yeah, I try to think on that one. Even the belts they're not loops, they're just cut off, so you can get those replaced. You just need to find usually on the belts for any of these machines there'll be like some information on there that talks about like the width and the pitch of the tooth and the tooth count, things like that. So you can get some of those replaced, but like if it's the bar itself or anything, the electronics, that's probably not going to be something you're going to find very easily open source.
Yeah, Harold, I wear them and I use them when I need to in videos, but yeah. Since I got this little guy, I use it a lot for like inside enclosures and stuff like that. And I've got where I actually use it to point at things. So, but yeah, I wear the glasses during the day while I'm at work.
And they're more of your like out and about kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wear them like sunglasses and when I go out and, all that. But if I'm out here in the yard working, I'll wear them because I use them for sunglasses. But if I'm in the shop, typically I don't wear them.
Yeah, I looked at them, but getting the prescription in them, I was just kind of like, ugh, they're kind of expensive for the it's limited to about 60 seconds of recording.
Yeah, 60-second clips on video. No,
yeah.
Pictures, you can snap them as fast as you can take them. You can stream live with them. The live, there's no time limit on that. It's battery. But yeah, they're not bad. I mean, I like them. It's just, I'm not a weakness for tech. So I enjoy them. That thing should be about done.
Well, I mean, We got another 45 minutes for it to finish. But yeah, I have actually looked at. I've got my annual eye appointment set up. I'm going to see if my prescription's changed much. But I need to find it again. I found a couple of places that actually have. You can order your laser safe glasses with the prescription in it. Which, you know, these are nice because they mostly fit over here, but you know, they don't. It would be nice to have some prescription glasses that I don't need to slide over other ones. I just feel they would fit a little bit better, but I just want to make sure that my eyes are somewhat stable because I don't, you know, they're like $500-600, and I don't want to have to buy those like every 2 years or something like that if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So. Oops. Multicraft's asking about where I can buy the outer lens cover for a longer Ray 5 20 watt. They don't seem to be listed anywhere. Take a look to see. I know the longer B1 that uses your typical brass 14 millimeter cover. If that's the same cover as, you know, take it off, measure it. If that brass end cap is like a 14 millimeter inner diameter, then it's flat on bottom, then it's pretty much the same as most of the other ones out there. Now, some of them have been moving, like Atom Stack has gone to a smaller type 1 and such. But if it's that kind of brass end cap, I think it's about 14 millimeter inner diameter, about 16 outer, then chances are you can use any other manufacturer's lens. I actually sell just the inserts, the glass inserts, so you can take the old glass out of your brass end cap, clean that up, and drop these new ones in. And other places also sell those replacement lenses, but a lot of them are the same part, but there are some that are off, so double check that. It's one that you might be able to answer. Nancy's asking what parameter of a UV laser determines the strength of the burn, Q pulse or frequency?
It depends on the material. Typically speaking, the pulse. Think of it as that is how long the laser stays on, basically. So, like, you know, the longer the laser stays on, the more it's going to do to the surface. Because it's like kind of like you're blinking a flashlight. The faster you blink it, the less light is going to be on the surface. Frequency is kind of, shoot, let's say this. Frequency tends to cause it to cut or dig a little more. The lower the frequency, the higher. I think of frequency kind of like the grit on sandpaper. And then Q pulse is kind of going to be how much pressure you put on said sandpaper. So it's kind of a combination of the two factors, but then you got to throw a little focus in on top of that too, because the focus could actually affect, you know, whether it engraves, whether it marks. So it's a multifaceted engraving process. It is very, very, there's a lot of variables, and I didn't realize that how many until I got to doing it, because you've got Q pulse, you got frequency, you got focus. You also have the angle of attack, so to speak. Like, do you do a crosshatch? You know, do you do just one pass? Do you do four hatches with like a 30 degree rotation? I mean, there's lots of things you can do to it. Speed is going to be really the biggest, like, as far as making the biggest difference. I think the speed's going to be your biggest variable. You can't change the power. The power output is what it is. The only thing you can change is going to be your speed. So the faster you go, of course, the less it's going to do. The slower you go, the more time it's going to have to work. But even if you're going fast or slow, or going slow enough, if you don't have the frequency and the Q pulse set properly, it's not going to do a whole lot, or you're going to have a different result. I created when I'm trying to dial in a piece of equipment or piece of material, I'll run a speed test that basically the Q pulse and the frequency are the two variables in that test. And then I'll look at that result that I get and I'll narrow it down to the Q pulse and the frequency that I need to use. And then I'll put that in a speed test and run a speed test to see. So it takes, whereas normally with like a blue laser, I would do just one speed test and have everything figured out. With the UV, it takes 2, sometimes 3 to like narrow down which combination is best for that material. It's a lot more complicated. I thought, when I got into the MOPAs, because you had, all of a sudden you got Q pulse and frequency. I thought those were touchy, but the UV is a whole nother animal. Like it is just a whole nother animal. But now, Nancy, if you'll go to my last Omni video that I did, I uploaded my my library, my settings library, and you can import that to your machine and kind of have to cheat some of that materials. Yeah, glass is a balancing act of that. Now I will tell you the 30 frequency. I think that's going to be way too far out there. But I think it's the last video I did. Matter of fact, let me just go see if I can find the library, and I'll give you a link to it. But if you'll import my library, that'll help you with some of those materials. Now, some of these are the ones that came with the machine. They're not necessarily mine, but there's a lot of mine in there. Glass, acrylic. Let's see, where did it go? Okay, here we go. Share, copy link. So that is what I have so far on the Omni. So if you'll download that and just import that into Lightburn and save it as your material library, that's everything I've got. All the Lone Star testing that I did is in there. The Kydex testing that I did is in there. Glass, clear acrylic. So it'll save you a lot of testing. Because that's one thing with the Omni, there's no way I can remember all the settings because there's so many variables. So I have started putting everything in the material library. So, but yeah, it'll drive you nuts until you figure out exactly how to test it, because it did make.
Yeah, I mean, even on normal gantry lasers, the blue diode or the CO2s, we do speed and power. But if you really want to dial in your engravings on some materials, you also want to do the line interval, because that can have an effect, especially on some lighter weight materials that are going to burn easier. That overlapping bit, you can actually get a little bit of a kind of a staggered effect. But yeah, it's you get into these fiber lasers, an added dimension. You get into the MOPAs and the UVs, and you add 2 dimensions. It's that's where any new laser we recommend get some scrap material and just practice. But yeah, unfortunately,
Well, see, the UV is like counterintuitive because it doesn't use heat to engrave. So everything that you learned about the diodes, the CO2s, and the fibers, you can throw that out the window, because the UV is like right the opposite of that. It doesn't get hot. It doesn't it does things totally different. So it's taking me some getting used to. But I will say this, the way that I've got this one set up so far and what I've been doing with it, if anybody ever comes in and says, hey, I've got this XYZ and I don't know what kind of material it is, the UV is the safest machine to use, because you may not mark it, but the chances of actually damaging it are very slim with the UV. Because, in the past, I've tried to engrave things that had like some older finishes on them or something like that, and that stuff will explode. Like it'll vaporize underneath the surface of the finish and create bubbles and just like blast whole chips of polyurethane or whatever off of it. It's just crazy. Yeah, Chris, that's what I have learned to be more organized with my material library. Like you said, there's no limit to how many you can put in there, so it is a great resource, and I probably should have my butt whooped for not using it sooner, but I've gotten really dependent on it since I've started using the Omni. Well, thank you. Glad you like it. Glad you like it. You're not gonna. You're really not gonna explode anything with the Omni. I don't think. This is not mine. I had a guy donate this to me from testing, but I got a bottle right here. I've been practicing. I got some more bottles coming. So there you go, right there. Yep. So I've been practicing with these, and they actually have a pretty cool little cork that you can also engrave. So yeah, I've got some people collecting these bottles for me, and you can see it. It does a good job. It's kind of hard to see with just the without anything in it, but yeah, that was a one-off, no testing. I just used my regular glass settings, and it did a good job. So that's one thing I am liking about this machine is its consistency with the materials. I don't even know what a CO2 cattle brander is. Don't know. But no, the UV is it's very peculiar, but it's very useful. Yeah, Chris, I've got some more bottles coming, and when I get them here, I may play around with that. But I just did that one the other night just to see. That thing should be getting done by now. I wanted to get finished right shut, y'all. It's gonna be pretty awesome. I may actually make me a little wood base and just set it down in there, leave that bottom pin on it, and just kind of CNC a little hole and stick it down in there. But I'm going to have to clear coat the crap out of it to try to sturdy up those threads. Those threads are fine. All right, so questions, comments. If you hadn't already, hit the thumbs up, like, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. We have run out of questions. Steve's going to start singing if y'all don't ask questions.
That will not happen. Got to save my voice for Workbench Con, you know.
Yeah, that's
Otherwise,
right, that's
otherwise I might, you know. I've been known for my
right.
my karaoke prowess.
If you bring your sickness down here this time around and try to give it to me, I'm gonna be upset with you.
I'm just saying, I got sick when I was around you. You didn't, so I'm figuring you spiked something that I drank or something. That was a interesting sound.
I said whatever.
Oh, it came out as. Rah.
That's because I was across the room and my noise filter is probably messing me up.
Yeah.
Scott said he picked up a clear wine bottle to try on the Hurricane. Hurricane does a good job on the glass. I will tell you this. Defocus it a little bit because with the CO2, you definitely can crack glass. Ask me how I know.
Yep. Yeah, any CO2 or a diode, they'll heat it up, they'll fracture it, and if it's bad enough, yeah. Now they generally don't get explosive, but they tend to shatter, and then so
yeah,
if they are under
just fall.
Yeah, so if they're full of liquid, as long as it's not carbonated and under pressure, that's just gonna kind of dump out over whatever it's sitting on. So,
and sometimes it won't break until you try to take it out of the chuck, and it'll just fall apart in your hand. Had that happen.
Can happen, yep.
Radu the Impaler is asking if any of us have any craft shows coming up. I don't have nothing coming up that I'm currently aware of.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of like traditional craft fair, vendor fair kind of things. I do, certain events that are like themed around makers and woodworking and things like that. But I don't typically set up to sell at just kind of random craft fairs. I'll set up at like events to do a specific thing for us, like an event sponsor, because I tend to work more with businesses than retail. So, but I like going to shows and such. So yeah, the next one that we'll be going to is Workbench Con down in Atlanta. And after that, I don't know. I got to look at some of that.
James Richards is asking, says, has a project I want to try with some pre-finished true flat material. What I need to sand, rough up both pieces to glue them, or just one piece. The pieces that I've glued, I didn't do anything to it. Now I used CA glue, but I didn't have to do anything to it. It done a pretty good job of gluing together on its own. And now Steve also can test the true flat materials because he has some as well.
So I glued this together. Now this isn't true flat to true flat. It was hardboard to true flat, and then MDF. I used wood glue in general, but I used little dots of CA with accelerator to kind of clamp and hold them together while the wood glue dried. But I did not do any prep work for that. Now the true flat is actually up against some hardboard material that's more fibrous, and that's going to probably absorb stuff more. But there is a bit of a texture to it, but it's also kind of pre-finished, so it's going to probably depend on the type of glue you use. But I don't think you're going to, unless if it's decorative, it's probably going to hold fine. If it's going to have any sort of stresses on it, then you might need to rough it up a little bit for a better bond. But I think for just decorative type stuff, you're probably okay without, because it does have a bit of a texture, and a lot of glues and resins will actually kind of grab onto that.
Zintenro says, have you done that fire station project yet? I hadn't heard back from them yet. I don't know when they're going to do it. But no, I haven't yet. If you're talking to me. There's one. On the OMTech Polar 55, I have to go about an inch from the right edge to get aligned with the 12x12 plywood. Is this typical, or do you have a trick to line up your work on the honeycomb? On the Polar, yeah, the honeycomb. Let's see, on a 12x12 piece of plywood, because the Polar should be a 12x20 machine. It's the same as the Polar Plus. Yeah, the honeycomb's not exactly the work area. The honeycomb's actually a little bigger than the work area, which is nice. But yeah, you're not gonna be able to just stick it in the corner of the honeycomb as far as when you're cutting it. Now, if you make jigs for the Polar Plus that I've got, you can operate off the corner of the honeycomb because it indexes, but it's not. I don't think it's actually in the cutting area because of the. It's the work area is bigger than the honeycomb is bigger than the work area is.
Yeah, hopefully some lasers they're really close. It's actually nice when you do have that that extra area. Allows you to clamp things and still maximize it. So I don't know about that one on my OMTech. That's one thing I don't like is that the honeycomb is just floating in there. I still need to make some clamps like I did for the or brackets like I did for the Reno 45. I like to have that kind of locked in place because then you can kind of put in, a jig or reference thing to say, okay, here's this. If I put it here, it's squared at 0, 0 or whatever. So that'd be something to look at on any CO2 or really any laser. So if you can fix that honeycomb in place, then you have a reference point that you can build off of.
Yeah, the honeycomb in mine is 12.25 by 21.5 is the actual flat part of the honeycomb. So yeah, you're gonna have like I said, if even a 12 by 20 piece of material, you're going to have the honeycombs a little bigger than the cutting area of the machine, which is what I like.
The glue I mentioned earlier, it's actually a thermo activated fabric glue. I can bring that up here real quick. Boop, here we go.
You and
So
your glues.
It's hey, it helps. This Aleene's Intrafuse Fabric Fusion. They have a few different flavors of this, but this one, I wanted something that was heat activated. Gives you kind of time to position it. I didn't want like a contact cement that if you get it wrong, there's no adjustment. And so I wanted to play around with this. You can do this with a typical iron. Now they tell you on the instructions for this stuff, use the cotton setting, which can be up to like 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is way too hot for that leather. I found something more around 200 degrees Fahrenheit seemed to work a little bit better. I'm still playing with that to kind of really figure out the time and the heat. But yeah, it seems to be working okay on that more pliable leather material that I got. And Chris, I do have some hat blanks. I have some cutout tests, so I'll probably test it in my hat press as well to see if we can use that to apply that. I would imagine it might work the same with leather, and it's supposed to be a pretty solid bond. I stuck two pieces together and I wasn't able to really pull them apart after it cooled down. So I'll probably have a video out on that here, hopefully in the next few days after I get some testing done. Tomorrow I get some time off. I'll probably be playing around with that some more. So
I blame you, by the way.
If it works well, you got some of that, yeah. If it works well, there'll be that video, and I'll show you. This is available on Amazon or Michael's or most craft stores and such. So, but that's what the new glue was that I was testing.
Yeah, I blame you for the. I've had to dedicate an entire shelf up there to glues and adhesives.
Yeah, I have so many of them between woodworking glues and model glues and just general stuff. It's just especially with model aviation, you want glue joints failing, catastrophic. So you want to make sure you're using the right stuff for the right material.
Rob says he's using some 5mm walnut MDF. Ran a material test and got a good setting, but when I tried to do my project, it cuts fine till I get a small detailed area, then it just burns a hole. On the Rolly, 30 watt suggestion. Is it like burning the corners, like real tiny stuff? Is that what you're saying? Because if that's the case, it sounds like maybe you're going too hot, too slow. But
yeah, and this is something I've found too. The default in Lightburn, it just uses those squares, and you can size them up or down. What I like about software like XCS, and I think even the We Create software, is they'll allow you to make a grid of any object. So if you really want to dial in your laser, you want to run a material test with something other than just a square, and you might want to have it scale up and down, or I do somewhere it's like part of a square and then a loop, and then sometimes with like a V type shape as well, just to get a few different scenarios, both bigger and smaller, just to really dial it in. Because nothing worse than having like a big, if you're using your typical dialed laser, having something that's like 15 inches square and it having to run a 30-minute cut because it's all detailed, and you find out certain spots aren't cutting through, or like you're seeing here, they're blowing through. It's probably the smaller detailed areas it's not able to get up to speed. And so if it's running too hot in there, it's definitely going to be burning more of that material. So it might be the thing where, depending on your artwork, you might want to cut that into a couple layers and try to break out your detailed areas into a different layer that it can cut at different settings. Whereas if you have like a larger item, larger outline type things, maybe cut those on a separate layer as well with different settings. But I would go back to some of your material tests, see if you can, now that you've kind of dialed in the benchmark, take a couple different shapes like a heart or a W or something like that, and just run
Stars work pretty
as
good
well,
because you have those real fine tips, because that's where you're going to get that heat build up a lot of times.
I also like having a curve in there as well, though. So that's where, do a couple different shapes to really kind of dial in your settings from there.
Make sure you're not running constant power. Surely not, but make sure that layer is not set to constant power, because if it is, and it's not allowing that laser to dial the power back when it makes those directional changes, then that can be constant. So just look at that and make sure.
That's only enabled on certain lasers, so
I don't remember if the Rolly will let you do it or not.
Yeah,
I think it will, though. I think on the MK it will let you enable constant power.
Have that profile on this one. Yeah, on the Atom stack they don't give you that option. At least for a cut.
Sit there and look at mine.
But yeah, that is the unfortunate detail. I've had it where kind of the inverse, though, where the smaller squares cut fine, but larger objects where it actually gets up to speed, it actually doesn't. Then it's going too fast. So that's where, like I say, running a few tests on a few different sizes. iGillette does say the Rolly allows constant power to be selected. So yeah.
Yeah, it does on my profile. I just opened it up. And it'll it will. So I don't know if you know where to look for that, but when you pull your layer up, like you set your settings in here, make sure this little switch right here is not flipped. That constant power, because if you have constant power set, it's as it rounds that corner, it's not going to slow down. And when it doesn't slow down, it's going to get hot in those corners, and especially like real thin shapes or whatever. So just make sure constant power is not enabled right there. And make sure you do have overscanning, all that good stuff. I don't think overscan is not going to matter on a cut. Never mind on that. Disregard that last part. That's only gonna get you on Engraver.
Yeah, I don't. So did you check on a line versus a engrave? Because oftentimes it's an option for engraving, but not always.
Make sure. I did set that as a. Let's see. Rolling. That's still there.
Okay.
Yep. I even set it at 6 millimeters a second. It's still there. I'll leave that pulled up just in case I need it to. But yeah, it'll let you put it on constant power on a line or a. It's gotten awful quiet. It must be getting close to finish over there.
We have about 15 minutes left. So questions, comments, song requests for the Ain't Gonna Happen karaoke fest. Is it done?
It's literally got like a 1/16 of an inch all the way around the outside of it. We're gonna take a picture of it.
Well, you gotta adjust your machine estimation time settings apparently.
Oh, I didn't look at it. I didn't even look. I just
started the job.
I didn't. I've gotten used to the other machine, so I didn't expect it to last as long as it has. It's like right there on that very last little part. See that little piece that's sticking straight up right there? That's all it's got left. It's got that one little piece. See the top of it right there? It's literally like a 16th, maybe an eighth. I don't think it's even an eighth. It's between a six, probably like a 16th and a half.
Nancy's got a question about your material library.
It's glass. Should be in there. I haven't looked at it, but let me see. On tech polar, no. Omni one. Material library. I said it was in there. Did it not save? Yeah, it's in there. It's glass. Frost Engrave. Frost. Edit. That. Yeah. It should be in there. It should be under glass. It's right below fruit orange, which I did not put in there. That was already in there.
Fruit.
Yeah, they Omni or Tom Walker put that in there. If I left it because it's just yeah, seriously, it's I guess they engraved it orange.
It's in case you want to accelerate the spoilage of your fruit. Huh.
I guess. Well, if it ain't in there, Nancy, let me know and let me see if I can offload it again. Maybe for some reason that one didn't save. I don't know. Save the Discord. File upload. Give me just a second. I'll have it re-uploaded. In case that one didn't have it. I don't know why it wouldn't. Tom Marker one. Nope, on the one.
Got some more special guests dropping by to check us out. Kim and Garrett make it. Got to meet them out in Vegas at CES, and they made us extra trip out there for the what is it, the APM show. So yeah, they've got a cool channel. They do a lot of crafting, incorporating a lot of lasers. So stop by and say hi to them. Check them out.
Yeah. Sup, Kim, Garrett, how are y'all? Hey, Miss Nancy, delete the one that you just downloaded and download it again. I just replaced the file on Google Drive where that was, so the link should still be the same. But I just re-uploaded it. So there's a chance. I do remember I had a problem with Glass not getting saved at one point in time, and that may have been an upload during that phase. But I just re-uploaded it. So delete the one that you just downloaded and re-download it because it's the same name and everything. So make sure you get rid of the old one. But yeah, Kim, Garrett, are y'all coming to Workbench Con by chance? I didn't ask when we were in Vegas.
They've been doing lots of traveling. It'd be great if they did, but
I
don't know.
was
Maybe
gonna
they
say,
got to hang back.
They probably tired of traveling.
Yeah.
Which they could
Christopher
almost
says,
drive.
yeah. Well, if I can drive from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Chris says he had the best result on Glass with 8-serve. Too bad it disappeared in Atom Stack as my new workhorse. Yeah. It's unfortunate that they had decent machines right out of the gate and then kind of slid a little bit and then just kind of unfortunately went off into the sunset. So
the V35 was a beast. I loved it.
Yep. I still have My P20 is actually on that that tumbler machine that I got to pull out here and do some stuff with. But got kind of quiet. Is it done?
Well, I thought it was, but the problem is it's you know how it does it. Basically, it takes it like it unfolds it. So even though I don't really care if it does the little spindles, there's this little stripe running across the threads because it unfolds the image basically and runs around the edge. It starts in the middle and runs around the edge. So there's a little, like a 1/16 of an inch strip across the threads. If it wasn't for that, I'd stop it. But I can't stop it because I'll have a line across the threads, and it's looking too perfect for that. Up north is asking. I don't know if he's joking or serious. I don't know what that is. Says, would either one of you want a bottle opener or four with your logos, or not really? Maybe some pins and accompanying pin cases. Yeah, we probably have like all of that. Yeah, like all over. Just like when we test, I don't know about Steve, but when I test machines, I end up with so much stuff that I don't really need because I'm just testing machines. That I've got like I hand these out like candy. Like somebody comes over, I'm like, hey, you want a bottle opener? You know, if you don't like the metal ones like that, I've also got. Well, I may have gave that one away. No, I didn't. I've also got a bunch of these.
Yes, but you don't have a full color clack on a coaster.
Nope. But I got Steve on a stick. And I got Steve on a stand over here. Kim and Garrett's like, what in the heck is this? Steve on a stick, Steve on a coaster. But yeah.
Well, I'm surprised
concerns?
after all the robots you were checking out at CES that you didn't, just bring a whole robot home and slap my face on it.
Hey, it's I forgot about Steve on the backpack. I got that too. Oh, I actually got a company reached out to me with one of those little lawnmowers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not up to par with what I'm afraid it just wouldn't work here. I mean, if I lived on the like a golf course, like near the flag, it might work, but it ain't gonna work here. Yeah. I was so like oh man, a lawnmower, and then I clicked the link and looked at it. It looked like a Roomba, and I was like, oh, that ain't gonna work over here on the hill. Biscuit to have that thing up running around with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's the number of random invites that I just delete out of my junk folder of some of that stuff.
Lance has got a question about CNC. Says, does the Shapeoko 5 and 2x4 model index? So if you need to do longer than 2 feet, you could. You can, yes. What they call it, tiling.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done it because I've got the 4 foot by 4 foot. But yes, you can do that. You have to, set up your index or indexing pins or whatever to do it. Or there's a madness, a method to the madness. But I have no experience with it because so far I haven't had to do anything that was bigger than my 4 foot by 4 foot. Have you done it before? Can you speak from experience on that?
Not a whole lot. You need to have usually a couple reference points, and so I like to use like a couple of like pins or dowels, so that you do your first engrave, and then you move the tile a known amount, and then those 2 pins will keep it in kind of alignment, and a known distance. So as long as you can support it, on whatever side that you're sliding it off your CNC. At least with VCarve Pro, it's fairly simple to set that up. It's just making sure your fixture points stay static and are solid. So you could do that with the Jamitsu 4040. You could tile a project and just keep moving it as long as you can index the space that you're moving it and the keeping it square and in line. You could do it. So kind of similar to doing a 2-sided thing as well. You know, as long as you have a couple of known points that you can recenter and mark off of, then it works pretty well. Jared's got a comment on the dog holes that Craig has some inline clamps that work good, and they're all plastic if hit with a router. And I think I've seen some of those. They make a lot of good kind of holding points in general. I have my little table here, my little folding table that works with that from Craig, but they have whole bench top units, and some people buy those and use for their CNCs. But yeah, if you don't have a 3D printer, and you want to do that kind of dog hole method for holds, that's a good way to add it.
Yeah, some of my threads were too flimsy. They kind of fell off. That one little strip of threads right there, they kind of fell. But yeah, there it is. Ha ha ha.
Kind of wood is that?
These a little sandy. I think it's pine. It was just a piece of drywall I had sitting around. Not the best wood, but I just wanted to try it, see if I could do it. But yeah, there you are. Let me take it over to the table saw right quick. Or no, bam.
Chris says the shirt he got from you at the conference was a good trade-off for the keychain tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to meet a few folks at the Chiefs conference that I just got back from for work. Yes, yeah. I left it a little proud there so I could sand it down. But yeah, there's cut that part off. I think I'm gonna leave the bottom part for the moment because I'm not too sure. I'm not gonna just take it like CNC me a little board with a hole in it to sit that in. So I'm gonna leave that on there for right now. But yeah, there we go. There you go. That's a long time for just to have a wooden screw. Makes you appreciate 3D printing. But now this is it looks like some kind of pine or something. I don't know where it came from. I think it came with one of my rotaries that got sent to me. It was in a drawer. I grabbed it and chucked it in and used it. Now I've got some of that plastic material. I thought about using some of that because that would be a lot more stable.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have to like with this, depending on where the grain is on this wood, those threads are going to be very, very brittle and like literally they just fell off. So it's the nature of wood. But yeah, I may paint that and or polyurethane that and put it on the board and just a little cool. What can a CNC do?
Yeah, pine's not the best for a lot of that.
Oh no. No, I've got some poplar dowels over there, some bigger dowels, and I may set one of them up later and run it. But wood, any kind of wood is you're gonna be wherever that those growth rings or that grain is, it's gonna, especially something that thin like the threads.
Pine being a softwood, it's like trying to mill a sponge. So
yeah,
you get into get yourself like an ash tool handle or something like that and carve it out of that.
Or go by the machine shop and pick me up a piece of aluminum.
Well, have fun with that.
You talk about taking hours. Yeah, that's the only spot that messed up right there, and the threads just kind of fell off. But yeah, done good though. Consider that's only the third or fourth project I've done with a fourth axis on a CNC, and I actually did set that up in VCarve. So,
all right. Well, we're coming up right on 2 hours. So, any last questions or comments or special requests? Get them in now.
Mark, I have seen. You have to. There's a special to do threads with like one of our CNCs. You would need you have to drill the hole first, and then you would need a very specific bit to cut those threads, and then you'd have to use a thread toolpath in VCarve. And I've seen it in there, but I've never used it because I don't have a need for it. But I want to say yes, you can, but like I said, I wouldn't even know where to start setting that up. It would be, but basically the bit just looks almost. It's like it's just it's basically like a stick with a little the bottom of the bit would be like this, so that it could kind of go around the edges of the hole and make the thread. So, but I've never done that. Ryan said milling a sponge. It's about the truth of it. But like I said, I didn't want to put anything expensive in there until I made sure I had my brain back in gear, because the last time that I did that was when I had the 4040. The original 4040 was the last time I used that fourth axis. And I wasn't even sure I had it set up properly in Vectric. I was like, here we go. Let's try it. My biggest concern, though, was that I was going to take that little cheap Chinese bit and drive it into that rotary. That was my biggest concern, but I didn't do that, so it worked out pretty good.
Well, it's kind of like trying to practice hand cut dovetails on pine wood. People pick it because it's readily available and cheap, but it's a practice of futility, because the fibers are so soft that they're going to break, or they're going to, it just, you get ugly looking dovetails and you're like, I suck at this, when then you actually jump into, a hardwood and it becomes much easier.
Well, see, I'm right the opposite, because I actually think that turned out really good, especially considering it's some kind of pine or fir or whatever the heck it is. So now I need to find.
Some of them broke off.
No, it's just that one little section right there. That's it. But now I need to find me some better material and I can reproduce this. Got it working. Let's see what we got going on. Hold on. Rob, Ryan says Rob Schuster did a video a year or so ago about making a nut. Steve's a nut, but he doesn't do any videos about making a nut. Yeah, Osage orange would be a good wood, because it would be very tough.
Yeah. And
if I had like some oak burl or dogwood burl or something like that, that would probably do good, because with a burl especially, there is no grain per se. It's so random. But it would be my luck that I'd have one of those swirls in just the wrong spot, and it would be like detached, and it would just like two halves just fall into two parts.
You get a lot of bark inclusion with those, unfortunately. So, yeah.
But I'll find me some material. Like I said, I've got some 3/4 inch material over there. I can get some metal. I could do an aluminum one. That would just take forever.
Yeah. I don't know that your bit's gonna hold up to that.
No, I'd have to get a little bit different bit. I've got several packs. These are not made for that. I'd have to have like a real tiny O flute, in my opinion, to do that, and then maybe like a corn bit, which I've never used. I've got some of them. I've just never used a corn bit before. Cool. All right. Steve B says light coat of super glue on the threads. Yeah, I'm gonna clear coat it. I'm gonna clear coat the crap out of this thing to try to make sure no more of them fall off. But all in all, it worked.
Some thin CA will soak right into that. Actually, it's a good trick on any threads you need to like harden up, like in some wood, like door frames and such, where maybe you're trying to reinstall something. Get yourself some thin CA. It'll wick in, but it shouldn't leave like a glob on the surface. Just make sure it's cured before you put your screw in. But yeah,
and that'd be like that. That'd be like some red Loctite, wouldn't it?
Well, it's either that or it's going to grab the wood fibers while you're tightening it in. It's just going to blow them out. But yeah, it's another good. I see, and that's why you need a variety of glues in your arsenal.
I was fixing to say you and your glues, you and all those glues.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Like I said, this week is going to be a full week here at the shop. It's going to be cold, so there's a really good chance that I'll be in here working on stuff if I can. If I can. Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's supposed to be in the 20s. That's cold here.
Cold.
Yeah, that's cold. Hey, I can't help it. You like live up there in Eskimo land, but it's supposed to be pretty cool outside, so I won't be doing a whole lot outside. I will be in here, but we're gonna hopefully have some more projects coming up. I've got a couple of jobs I got to get done with some signs for my party planner. But other than that, it's pretty much wide open. I've got a couple of machines that I was gonna do videos on, but apparently everybody is procrastinating when it comes to these new machines. So yes, 20s above zero is cold here, Brian. It was like 80 a couple of days ago here. So yeah, I can't help it. Cold is a matter of your. It's relative. It depends on what a normal day is like.
Yep. And that's why I have my basement workshop. A, no one else wants to hang out down there other than the random cat. B, I mean, if I was out here, even though I've got the supplementary heater out here, if I was out here doing lasering stuff and dumping all this hot air out, it would just be miserable. So when it gets this cold, yeah, I'd like to hang out, and I'm glad I have that extra spot down there with some space for a couple of machines. So, but hopefully everybody's gonna stay warm over the next few days. Let this polar vortex come through. Like I said, it's going to be a good 40 some odd degrees warmer next week, above freezing. And so, yeah, another week here. So we'll have the live stream as usual next week. But then that following week, I'm going to hit the road, head down to Clacks. We're going to head over to Workbench Con. And following Sunday, you may see a dual stream from the Clack Shack. So,
They'll be in here putting stickers everywhere.
I would never do such a thing. I have 0 stickers ready to deploy around. So, but yeah. Hopefully everybody gets through this cold snap. We got some warmer weather on the way. I'm excited to stay healthy and enjoy this conference and get further inspired. And we'll hit the spring running. So with that, I'll let you sign us out.
Yeah, well, that's about it, guys. Like I said, look forward to videos. You got anything coming out this week that you know of, Steve?
Well, I'm working with that leather and that glue, so hopefully I'll get that out. And then we'll see. I've got a few things kind of in the testing, seeing if it'll work phase. Other things that are taking a little bit longer on design, but yeah, we'll have some things out before I take off.
Roger. Well, like I said, I'm just going to be goofing off this week here. I do have to go get some materials to make some more stove covers with. I have slap out of that. About got my list knocked down, but now I'm back up to like 10 on the board. So got to get back to work. But
all right.
Anyway, stay safe, guys, and we'll see y'all next Sunday night. So later.
See you.